On today's episode, we are giving you a glimpse into the kind of content our Women Leaders Association members have access to. If you would like to know more, head over to womenleaderspodcast.com and please enjoy this eye-opening message about the future of work with Susie Kendis.
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. My name is Susie Kendis. I am a member of Deloitte's Human Capital practice, where I focus on topics such as culture, employee engagement, strategic communications, and a big one that's been bouncing around lately, the future of work. I am based right outside the Philadelphia area. I am a lifetime Philadelphian. I think third or fourth generation Philadelphian. So very excited to be here with you today and talking about some of these topics that are so meaningful to all of us. So I'm here to talk about the future of work. Let's talk about what that is. The future of work, as we think about it, has three interconnected dimensions: the workforce, workplace. There's been a lot of conversation lately about workforce, people with quiet quitting and people changing jobs and the Great Resignation. There's been a lot around workplace. So should we be in the office? Should we be working remote, something hybrid? There's been less focus on the work itself, which is equally as important. A hard look at the value of work, outcomes of work, what work actually means these days, and then also the technology that is supporting that work. I want to invite you to take a moment and imagine the future. And the way we're going to do that real quick, if you'll allow me, is to go to the past. If we think about 2012, companies were focused on recovery from a recent recession, and these were some of the things going on. They were streamlining their workforce to be cost efficient. It was all about the company and the bottom line, stabilizing core revenues in the wake of the recession. Gen Z was only 15 years old. We have technology starting to increase with 44 million iPhone users in the US and 2.2 billion email users worldwide, sending 144 billion emails per day. Now, I want to take a moment and just pause and reflect on that because it's very different than where we are today. Right? Today, we have now moved into a place where, first of all, Gen Z is now 25 years old. The workforce is now digital first, and they can work anywhere. Industry is looking at workers more as assets than it is just cost on the cost sheet. We're drawing from diverse talent models. We are looking at high employee turnover. We're adjusting supply chain and value to supply chain and value chain disruptions. For example, restaurant costs are high. Some shelves don't have goods that we're looking for in stores, right? Organizations are now more social enterprises. Obviously, the use of iPhone users has gone way up, and so has the stream of email. So a lot has changed in the last 10 years. And as we look at the future of work and where we're going, things are going to continue to progress at a pretty rapid clip. 2033, just take a moment and imagine. Now, the oldest Gen Z is 35 years old. Again, labor is more treated as an asset than a cost. Workers have agency over their data. Maybe you see the blockchain. We've got organizations that are ecosystems of skills. The metaverse is alive and well, driving effective collaboration across offices. ESG, corporate citizenship, sustainability, these issues are fully incorporated into every business strategy. The boomers have retired, and the iPhone is completely phased out, let's imagine, with AR devices gaining traction. Things are changing. There are trends happening that are impacting all of us. I want to take a moment now and just think about and talk about what are some of those human challenges that we expect to see in the next decade. On this slide, you'll see the results of the Fortune Deloitte CEO survey from 2022. And what you'll see in the light green bar there is that most recently, when asked about what external issues the CEO is expected to influence or disrupt their business strategy in the next 12 months, most recently it was market instability and inflation, which is understandable if you've been reading the news since June. However, if you look at that top set of three bars there, you'll see that consistently over the past year, the top answer that has averaged to remain as the most important thing is the labor and skills shortage. And this shouldn't be a surprise to anybody, really, if we think about how people are moving around, changing their jobs, changing direction, moving cities. There are three big trends that have been happening lately that many of us have been hearing about and talking about. The first, exhaustion, blurring the lines between home and work, the toll it's taking on our well-being. The number of meetings has increased between 2021 and 2022 by 288%. I want to repeat that, 288% more meetings. The average after-hours work has increased 51% between 2022 and 23. And in a global workforce sentiment study, 54% of respondents say that they feel overworked and 39% feel exhausted. I will also share that women are more likely than men to feel burnout, and the teams of managers who are burnout tend to feel more burnout than those teams that don't have managers who are burnout. So there's a trickle-down effect to all of this. The Great Resignation we've been hearing about a lot. 47 million Americans left their job voluntarily in 2021. That is the most that the Department of Labor has ever seen since it started tracking back in, I think, the 40s or 50s. Before the pandemic, women made up more than 50% of the country's workforce. And since then, 3 million have dropped out of the workforce and 1.6 million still haven't returned. So for those who dropped out, 1.6 million women have remained out of the workforce. And then there's this great reshuffling that's happening. People are working from anywhere, right? And we know that people have been moving around the country for remote jobs. 34% of US workers have shifted cities since the start of COVID-19. There was a Milken Institute study that showed the cities that were growing the greatest based on jobs, wage growth, output growth. And number 6 on the list out of interest for this group was Camden, New Jersey. So a lot of jobs, a lot of people moving to Camden to be able to work from there. So some of the trends that are behind this and that are happening at the same time and empowering and allowing this, the first that I want to talk about is worker expectations and agency. We know that employees are speaking up about what they're seeking in a job. 64% of workers will only consider working in a new job if it provides flexible work hours. And 55% are likely to switch employment models from full-time jobs to a freelance, gig, contractor throughout their careers. We know there's been talk about the 4-day work week, and it's had great success in the places where it's been implemented. We also know that employees are being encouraged or are taking it upon themselves to demonstrate more agency with unionization and walkouts and protests and giving feedback about whether to be in the office or out of the office or what work generally looks like going forward. So there's a lot shifting in this space about what the workers are expecting. And as part of that, we get to our next trend, which is an expectation that organizations lead by example. 86% of employees surveyed by Deloitte say they expect their CEO to speak out on societal issues. And we found through a Gartner study that when an organization does speak out on societal issues, their employees increase their engagement from 40% to 60%. So it has an impact on the employee experience. In addition, when organizations are looking at which topics or whether to get involved in certain societal or social issues, the number one question they ask themselves, the CEOs ask themselves, is whether it aligns with the organization's strategy, purpose, and values. And the second question that they ask is what's the employee sentiment around that topic? So if there is something that you're passionate about as an employee, definitely make your voice known within your organization with the goal of influencing where your organization plays on that topic. Trust in government and corporate governance is also a really important theme that we're seeing. And we're finding that business is the most trusted institution that we have ahead of NGOs, nonprofits, ahead of government, ahead of media. In addition, it's really important about making employees are putting more value on organizations that value that relationship between employer and employee, right? And that trust factor that they have between them. When employees trust their organization, they are more empowered and more motivated at work. 79% of employees who highly trust their organization feel motivated. Excuse me. And then the last trend that I wanted to talk about real quick was the human technology collaboration. There was a concern a while back that technology was going to come in and take all of our jobs. And the truth of the matter is that in recent surveys, leaders are saying that they don't want to replace their employees. They want to augment employees. Excuse me. What that means is that your job may be done with support from the metaverse, artificial intelligence, machine learning, but it's all about working together. A couple of important or interesting stats here. The metaverse is expected to reach 1 billion people by 2030. And in the year 2026, which is not that far away, 25% of people are expected to spend at least 1 hour a day in the metaverse. So it is coming for sure. And organizations are thinking about how to plug that technology into their day-to-day. One of the important things we're seeing is that it is about making sure that that technology fits in to take the role and the work. When we think about the future of work and the actual work component, that technology is there to take off the plates of people, more of that rote work, more of that day-to-day kind of thing, and let the humans focus on the work that is more strategic. Moving into the shifts at play and how to manage them. So we've heard a lot about this co-location conversation, right? And so a couple of things that we're seeing today. What works well in person? Idea generation, growth of professional networks, development of bridging and in-group connections, creative collisions, apprenticeship. We're finding that in person, the junior staff learn quicker and bring more ideas to the table than when they're sitting at home working. However, you do find that the senior leaders have to spend more time in their day doing that training, being intentional about bringing those junior staff members up to speed. What works well remotely is idea prioritization, job satisfaction, as we can all imagine, not having to do the commute and get ready for work every day, reduce quit rates, productivity, and dedicated heads down time. And so what Deloitte says about all this is be intentional, right? Think about what work, what piece of the work, what capability or job skill or activity you're actually trying to solve for, and then plan accordingly. And it really does look like hybrid is the best approach to be able to get the best of both columns and make sure that you're maximizing for your people. So market forces have led us to these 4 shifts, right? Jobs to skills. So it used to be that we wrote a job description, we put it up on the shelf, and there it was, and it immediately began to get outdated, right? Because life is changing, work is changing, technology is changing. Maybe the strategy or the mission of the organization is changing. And so shifting from a jobs-based organization to a skills-based organization where leaders are able to pull from the best skill sets across the organization to solve for whatever challenges are coming. Moving from a thought of just employees to workforce ecosystem. So again, thinking about the gig economy and contractors and freelancers and crowdsourcing through social media in order to get solutions that work best for your organization. From flex work to flex everything. It used to be about employees benefiting the company, and now just important is the company benefiting the employee. And so finding that balance so that both are in a happy relationship with each other and we're maximizing the best for everybody. And then, as I was talking about, from automation to augmentation. So it's not just about using technology to substitute human work. It's about supplementing that human work and skill set and taking the things that are more rote and giving that over to technology so that humans can work better, faster, smarter. With this comes significant risk. And we shouldn't brush it under the rug and forget about it. And that is related to workforce, leadership, and human experience. All of these are going to be greatly impacted as we continue to see these shifts come on board. So what can you do? Employees, I encourage you to embrace the ecosystem and think creatively when you're looking for future roles. Be vocal in what you need for the employee experience. Practice your employee agency. Speak up and share the causes that you want your organization to care about or the way that you want your employee experience to run. In addition, build your tech skills. So it's not going to go away. And it's important, even if you're not going to be the exact coder or programmer, to think about how can you become tech fluent in a way that you can incorporate that technology into your day-to-day in a smart way to benefit you and also your organization. For employers, what can you do? Take a deep look at the work that you do, how it gets done, who's doing it, what technology you're deploying, the who, the how, the where, and really be intentional about how you design around that. Set clear goals around workforce transformation and make sure that you support your employees with well-being, resiliency, adaptability, and equity, which are all extremely important to make sure that your employees have a positive experience. I've shared a lot. I want to take a moment and just address, I see a couple of questions in the chat. One is a question around, I see Anna asked, have there been any studies on how to build trust on a company? I want staff to buy in. There have been. Companies build trust through brand work, and it works as much internally as it does externally. So if I'm a consumer goods brand trying to get people to buy my product, I would do similar things as I need to do for what we call the employee experience. And so turning those types of activities internally to build brand. And if you want to follow up with me after, Deloitte has done a lot around trust in companies and trust in brand, and would be happy to share some of those resources with you, or I'm sure you can find them online as well. And then I see Bailey, I hope I'm saying that name right, asked a question. When do you ask the hybrid remote in office in a job interview? I don't want to waste anyone's time, but I'm in Wilmington and I'm not sure I have the ability to drive into the city every day. I'm not going to say that I'm a career coach expert where I can provide, I'm not an interview coach, but here's what I would say. Being transparent is important, right? And to your point, I think it's a little bit of a judgment call of how far into the conversations you've gone and when you want to bring up that question. The good news is the question of where we're all working remote, in-person, hybrid is really on front of mind for everybody. And so if you did ask it in an interview today, it would land much more positively than if you were to ask that question right off the bat, 5 years ago, let's say, before the pandemic. I will also say that when you look at LinkedIn at job postings and things like that, we are seeing, right, companies are placing right in there if a role is hybrid, remote, or in office. And so it just has become part of the lexicon. So I think, Bailey, for you to make that judgment, but at the same time, recognizing that the trend is here and the conversation is happening.
Hey, my friend, if you enjoyed listening to this podcast, be sure to rate, review, and share your biggest takeaway. And if you're wanting more, you can access hundreds of recent speakers, book summaries, great articles, and more at no additional charge through your membership portal. You can also get involved in a Women Leaders Association mastermind group or a networking group near you. Or if you just need to access your membership portal, simply go to womenleaderspodcast.com to be connected. Because here at Women Leaders Association, we believe we go further, faster, and have more fun when we go together. That's all for today, my friends. Bye for now.